Because every student, regardless of
Allow. That's
regardless
allows
of
them
your
to find.
program or the course you are studying, you will need to
Not
use
allow.
the library. You will need
Allows
to
them
use
to.
the library. So having an idea of how the library works is very important to all students. This is a 2 unit course and it is compulsory. So this course is not for 100 level first semester actually. It's for second semester, 100 level. So if you're 100 level first semester student, like freshers, you are not consigned for now, although you will still do the course later in your second semester, but for your first semester, this is not part of the courses you will register. So the course, like every other GST that we've done so far, is having some number of units divided into modules. In this case, we have 17 units that makes up the whole material. See that the material is not that bulky, just 119 pages. The main idea is just to, introduce library. What is a library? How did we come about library? What is being done in the library? Uses of library, importance of library, and operations of the library. That is everything about library. That is what this course is all about. So which means by the time you are done with this course, you should appreciate the library and also you should know everything you are expected to do when you find yourself in the library. Because one or time to time you find yourself visiting the library for several reasons and purposes. So knowing what the library is and how it operates helps you when you go to the library so that you don't go there to, start looking like what is this place? Okay, so the 17 units in this course material are divided into 6 modules. We have the module 1, types of library and services. We have research techniques. We have organization of library materials. We have ICT use in the library. We have good reading habits and study skills. Good reading habits and study skills. Somebody should help me to reply to that person that is messaging on Telegram. Then we have copyright, plagiarism, and referencing. You need this module 6 very well so that when you want to write your final year project or any of your seminar, you will know how to, or not even generally, when you are trying to copy content from one place to another in order to, modify them into your own, you will learn when it is wrong for you to copy somebody's own writing or when it will fall under plagiarism or referencing issue. And by the time we are done with that module 6, we are done with this material. Before we go deep or start what we have tonight, I will throw a general question. You can see all of these links that you are seeing here, they lead you to resources that you can use in writing, in learning about books and the rest of them. So different sources of information, especially when you want to write projects. Some of these links here, they are open source. You can click on them, check them out, and see what they talk about. Some of them you can find resources that will help you in writing projects, seminar, and the rest of them. So we will still get to that later on. But let's go straight to what we really have for tonight. But before we do anything, I have a general question. And that question is, have you, for once, maybe either in primary school, secondary school, but have you visited the library before or a library before? Any library at all? So it's a general question I want to, the question is 2 in 1. If you have done so before, what was your experience then? How did the first time you visited the library, how did you feel? How did the place appear to you? What were the questions that came to your mind? And if you have never visited the library before, just say you have not visited one before. If you have visited one before, you tell us. Back to normal is out. Like it's too big. You can unmute yourself and let me know what you mean by back to normal. Okay, so the question now is, have you visited the library before? If you have done so, what was your experience? Yes, everybody, one by one, let's unmute and talk. Yes, yes, just unmute yourself and speak. If you have visited the library before, what was your experience like?
Hi. I have visited the library in my secondary school days, and the library is the place that when I got in, it's very organized. Like you could literally tell certain books are this way, other books are this way. So it's easy for you to locate whatever you're looking for, and
Okay.
it's very quiet.
Wow. So your own first discovery when you got to the library was organization. That is how organized the library was. Okay, another person. It's like Mr. Sunday wants to say
It's a
something.
place. It's a place that is very quiet and very good environment for reading.
Okay. You notice the quietness, the calmness, and such environment is good for reading. Okay. Is there any other person that wants to say something? So this course is basically trying to expose the library to you and help you to appreciate the work of the library in the journey of a student. So the first thing we'll be talking about actually will be like introduction to the library, going back a bit into the history of the library. When did library start? When did it start? Uh, what are the first, set of libraries we have? How did they operate? Just
Sir,
as
sir, the what is it called? Your screen is too bold.
okay, I think that should be network. How about now?
A little bit small.
It's too small now.
No, 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 no. It's too big now.
No,
Ah,
the way it was okay. Now
are you
it's
sure that
small.
should be your screen? No, if you are saying it's too big, it should be your screen. This is just normal. This thing like this. I think it's your
Like
own
yes,
screen.
but I can't see the beginning.
You know what you do? Just open your own material too. The material is on the Telegram group. You can just check it there. Under GST104, you see the material there and the summary are there. Everything, past question. But it's the material we're treating now, not the summary. So open it on your own phone and be following in case you're having issues seeing on my screen. So types of libraries and services. Types of library and services. That's what we want to do. Please, if you don't have anything to say, mute yourself. A lot of noise. Please, please, please. You may have visited one or two libraries and used some of their basic services, but there is much more to the library than you can see. This module introduces you to various kinds of libraries with their specialized services. For instance, you may be carrying out a research on an aspect of agriculture as an undergraduate, and you may need to visit a special library such as that of International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, that is IITA, in Ibadan, which demands a referral service from the library. This module will tell you how to go about it, also introduce you to all other types of libraries and special services they offer. This is introduction. Those of you that did GS 101 and GS 102, this is just a paragraph and it is the introduction to this unit or this module actually that we want to dive into now. And it's just telling you that the library is much more than what you you are actually seeing or you are picturing. It is deeper than that. We have several types of libraries. And also, there is an example here. They are just trying to give you some hints that there are some libraries you don't just go to just for going sake. Like you want to go and, you know, borrow a book and you just go like that and they lend you the book like that. It's not done so in some library. Some library you will need referral service. That means you must be referred to them by another library before they will answer you, before they will even allow you to access their resources. So that type of library is one which is in Ibadan, the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, the IIT. Please, this abbreviation is very important. You want to put it to mind. International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, and the location is in Ibadan. So without wasting time, let's move to what we have. In this module, we're talking about two things: types of libraries, then library services, which means types of libraries and what they do. Types of libraries and what those libraries do. So let's start with types of library that we have. For your consumption, the major types of library that we have will be, should we say, they will be divided into these subheadings: academic libraries, research or special libraries, which means another name for research library is what? Special libraries. Another name for special libraries is research libraries. So school libraries, public libraries, and national libraries. By the time we are through, you will know what each of them stands for and what they offer to the society or to the community involved. Then before we go into types of libraries, it's very important for you to know what library is or what a library is, and have some basic knowledge of the past history of library. So, introduction. Let me see if we are following. I want someone to read the introduction for us. Just this page I'm showing. From this to research special libraries. Yes, someone? How many of us are still here?
This unit will introduce you to types of libraries.
Okay.
However, before going into the types of libraries, you need to first understand the concept of library and its origin. The various types of libraries that will be treated are academic libraries, research or special libraries.
Okay. Just complete it. Just okay. Like I
School
know.
libraries, public libraries, and national libraries.
Okay. All right. So that is very, very good. That means we are following. At least with that brief introduction, you know what you want to do in this unit. Now, intended learning outcomes. Please, this abbreviation is very important. Learn it. Some GST courses, they normally ask this question: that what is the full meaning of ILO in your course material? If it's only ILO that you are asked to, write in full, it will be intended learning outcome. But if they put S like this, then it will be outcomes. Please note it. It's something you may not put your mind on, that just normal topic in the you several times you come across it in GST courses, but please know the full meaning: intended learning outcomes. That means what you are expected to know by the time you are through with this unit. By the end of this unit, you'll be able to define a library, describe the origin of library, and then classify libraries by their characteristics and functions. Characteristics and functions. So let's move straight to the concept of a library. Now we want to start looking at library. Let's it's just like you let's say you call a small child and you give the child a piece of paper, and so the child is new to that piece of paper, maybe due to maybe is a colorful piece of paper, and the child is now observing it. What is this? What is this? Checking, looking at the shape, the thickness, the color, the size, the length. When the child starts to observe what kind of thing that paper could fall under, that's what we're trying to do now. We want to look at library on its own. What is this library? What does it do? How does it operate? Where does it come from? So that is what we want to do now, the concept of a library. Before we go into the types of libraries, let us first understand the concept of a library. The word library, which is library in French, or library, anyone you call it, in French. Please, the questions you will meet in TMA and your exam, they will not pass all of these. Some of these questions come out. The question bank is very large, but sometimes you might be lucky to meet some of these funny ones too. So the word library, which means library in French, and in Latin, liber, means book. This is very important. Please digest it. Make sure it sinks in your brain. I'm very sure some of you will still meet it in TMA, either in your TMA 1 or TMA 2 or TMA, but before you finish TMA, you will meet this question, probably. So the word library, which is library in French, and in Latin, liber, means book. What this is saying is that library means what? Book. Liber means book. And this library is in French, while in Latin, it is liber. But all we're talking about is still library. The English word is library. The French word is library, and the Latin word is liber. But all in all means, no, liber means books, because I think the one they normally ask is the Latin word liber means dash. You see, this statement alone, about 3 to 4 questions do come out on it. One of the questions is the word library, the word dash, which is library in French, and in Latin, liber means book, library. That will be the answer, library. In another case, we will ask, the word library means dash in French, library. Another way is the Latin word for library is dash. The Latin word for library is dash, liber. Another way they normally ask it is the word liber in Latin means dash. It means book. So this statement or this sentence is very important. Please digest it in any way you can put it in mind, that the word library, which is library in French, and in Latin, liber, means book. Now, it is an organized collection. Now, we're now going to the definition of a library. The definition of what? A library. What is a library? A library is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. Very short, very simple. So dash is an organized collection of resources made accessible to a defined community for reference or borrowing. What is that? That definition is what?
Library.
Library. Very good. Now let me explain a bit on that definition. Annabelle, the other time when she was sharing her own experience in the library, the first impression she got was the organization of the library, which is a very, very good one. Now, the first thing about a library is that when you enter a library, what shows you that that place is a library is that what? It will be organized, well organized. The organization must be there. That means the array of the books must be in order. That's the first thing. That's what this definition is trying to say, that organized collection of resources. Then the other thing says made accessible to a defined community, not just made accessible to just anyone, not like a madman going on the street will just enter and say, please give me things fall apart. And they'll just a defined community. This is what it means. All those types of library that we'll still be talking about in the course of the material or our study, actually, you find out that each of them have a defined community that are permitted to borrow or to come to them for their services. For instance, in the school library, if, let's say for instance now, in your secondary school, you have a very big library. That library is only accessible to what? A defined community. And what is that defined community? The students of that secondary school. I hope you understand the meaning of defined community. It's not like the library that is for National Library. Then somebody from just anywhere will just come and enter, and each of the library that we have is only accessible to the people that it was made for. If it's school library, only the students in the school are able to access it. If for instance now, let's say I'm a visiting student to your school, or I'm just a student of another school, just passing the front of the school. I can't just enter the school and start going to the library to sit down comfortably. No. Why? It's a school library and it is for the student of the school. So that is the meaning of defined community. Every library has a predetermined agenda why it was created, and that purpose serves only a defined community. There is no library that is for everybody. Now we have public library actually, but even the public library, they have their own restriction. The public library will have their own. Somebody traveling from Lagos to Kaduna cannot just stop. Maybe maybe you are in a public bus, so the bus now stop a bit for people to maybe refresh themselves. Then during that time, you now enter a library in Lagos State to borrow a book. When you are on transit, it doesn't work like that. So even if you have a public library in Lagos, it is most likely that it is people within the vicinity that they will lend their books to, not just somebody traveling on the road and just say, I love this book, let me borrow it. No, 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 no. It doesn't work like that. So a defined community, that is the meaning of a defined community, for reference or borrowing, which means the reason why they have an organized collection of resources is for reference or borrowing. And the kind of people that can borrow it are people or a community that the library was created for. Now, it provides physical or digital access to material. So it's not only books that you can touch, paper books like that, printed books that are available in the library. We also have, I'm sorry, my network is something else to do. It is well. Let me share it and let's continue. During rainy season like this, we're always battling with network here. So let's just continue. Let's continue. What is it called? Okay, so it provides physical or digital access to material and may be a physical building or room or a virtual space or both. We're still talking of a library. That means a library does not necessarily have to be that structure, that building that you go to. We have virtual libraries now. We have digital libraries. So the world is advancing. Now, a library's collection, this is another definition and then another thing entirely. A library's collection is just everything that the library has to offer in form of resources. So everything you can find or locate in the library, they are called libraries collection. They are called libraries collection. Now, a libraries collection can include books, periodicals, newspapers, manuscripts, films, maps, prints, documents, microfilm, CDs, cassettes, videotapes, DVDs, ebooks, audio books, bases, and other formats. They used to ask questions on this definition of a library's collection. So please dwell on it very well. Just do the things that you can find in the library. The way they used to ask it is they will list some of these things that they will now add what is it called? Real estate document. That is what they used to ask. So they will list under objectives. They will list A may be correct, B will be correct, C will be correct. Then the D, they will now put real estate document. You already know that there was no mention of real estate document here. So real estate document does not constitute the things that make up a library. Now, libraries range in size from a few shelves of books to several million items. In Latin and Greek, the idea of bookcase is represented by bibliotheca. This means library in many modern languages. For example, in French, library is called bibliothèque. Now, this is another thing, very important. The idea of bookcase is represented by bibliotheca. Very important statement. In Latin and Greek, the idea of bookcase is represented by bibliotheca. So learn it that this bibliotheca is in Latin and Greek and it means bookcase. While in French, library is called bibliothèque. Don't get it confused. Library here is a French word which means book, not library. If you follow this definition very well. While here, the word for library itself is bibliothèque. I will go into origin tonight. Are you sure? The material is not that long, so let's not rush it. You should try to digest it very well. I don't think we should go to origin tonight. Let's stop on concept. But try to understand it. So now let me throw open questions on the concept of the library. What you've learned so far now is that all of those libraries we are seeing, they are not just general libraries that anybody can enter into. A library is as good as the community it serves. So a library is only made accessible to a defined community. So that it's not just for anyhow or anybody. There must be some set of people in mind for creating the library. Those are the community of people the library will be serving. So, and then we'll talk about libraries collection, talk about the Latin and the French word for book, and also talk about the French word for library and also the Latin and Greek word for library. So please, questions on introduction to library. Questions or additions? Let's look at it and talk. Please, say something,
Try to contact you to ask whether you are online, so I will not go in. I will let the registration.
Oh yeah, oh, yeah. All right, I'm with you guys. Is there anybody that want to say something? If you don't have questions, maybe we should just try to do the origin before the time elapses. Now, the concept of, sorry, the origin, where the library start from. The first libraries contain archives. It is not archives, the ones who write it. There is a mistake here. It's archive. That is R here. So you should note that the first libraries contain archives of the earliest form of writing, such as clay tablets in cuneiform scripts discovered in Sumer, some dating back to 2600 BC. Please, this statement is very important. They ask it both in TMA and exam, so be prepared. Once you see me pointing you to some part of the material like that, know that they are very important. There are questions. The first libraries contain archives of the earliest form of writing, such as clay tablets. That is the way they normally ask it. And then it was discovered in Sumer, some dating back to 2600 BC. It's very important. In fact, this 2600 BC is a general, in fact, it's a popular market in the question bank. It's most likely that you meet it in your exam. Now, these written archives, now the correction has been done here. This is spelling of archives. So these written archives mark the end of prehistory and the beginning of history. According to Zhang 2011, another question. According to Dash 2011, the earliest discovered private archives were kept in Ugarit. See, this statement, very important. Please digest it. We are just talking of history of library now, so you should try to learn some of the history by heart. So, according to Zhang 2011, the name is very important. Zhang 2011, the name and the year. The earliest discovered private archives were kept in Ugarit. That is the name of the place. Now, also, there was evidence of libraries at Nippur about 1900 BC and at Nineveh about 700 BC, showing a library classification system. So now, all of these evidence of library that we had in Nippur, in Nineveh, they all point to one thing: library classification. Please bear it in mind. That is the most important thing here. The evidence of libraries at Nippur and Nineveh points to library classification system, LCS. Now, private or personal libraries consisting of written books appeared in classical Greece in the 5th century BC. We made this question last year, last semester. This just concluded the exam. This question came out. Private or personal libraries consisting of written books appeared in classical Greece in the 5th century BC. Please, very important. Now, in the 6th century, at the very close of the classical period, which means the classical period was basically in the 5th century. So the 6th century was the closing of the classical period. The great libraries of the Mediterranean world were those of Constantinople and Alexandria from the 15th. Now, okay, so that is for the 6th century. The Mediterranean world, the Constantinople and Alexandria, they existed in the 6th century. All this one, I just think you need to just put some of these names in your mind and then the dates. That is the most important. It's just history of library for you to know a bit of where it's coming from. Now, from the 15th century, in the central and northern Italy, this is another question, please. From the that century, in the central and northern Italy, libraries of humanists and their enlightened patrons existed. That is how they used to ask the question. They cut out 15th century. So you should know when enlightened patrons existed. That is, if you want to put this in your mind, use enlightened patrons to hold it, and 15th century. Central and Northern Italy in the 15th century, libraries of humanists and their enlightened patrons existed. But another important thing to put in mind, if there is still time, because I know this class will end just now. Let's just stop here. We'll start from the oldest library in existence, which is in China, Tianyin Chamber. You will learn that one, don't worry, in the next class. This class can end anytime now because of Zoom palaver. So, those of us that are still doing GST105 will start by